Hi, I would like to welcome you all to my channel. Today there will be a review, or I should rather say preview of miniatures that are being kickstarted right now. Miniatures are for 3D printing, and the Kickstarter name is Late 15th Century Medieval Gewalthaufen by Warsteel Miniatures / Gewalthaufen Miniatures, and it depicts medieval Swiss troops like pikemen, halberdiers, crossbowmen, handgunners / arquebusiers. If this is something you'd be interested in, don't waste time. Straight after watching this material, head down to Kickstarter, address in description below. At the time of me recording this material, there are only few days left. Project is already funded, but there are quite a few stretch goals left. Simon from Warsteel Miniatures was kind enough to send me some files of mentioned STLs depicting medieval Swiss. I printed them, painted them, and now I can give you my opinion. It is worth stating that I am in no obligation to Warsteel Miniatures. I am a paying customer, I am backing the project, therefore I feel that I am fully entitled to say what I really think about the miniatures. Before we begin with the preview/review, I would like to tell you what I'm using as a printing setup. First of all, I'm very fresh when it comes to resin printing, although have been FDM printing for a while now. I still love FDM, and in no circumstances I think that SLD printers will replace filament printing. To be perfectly honest, I think it might be the other way around, eventually. So my SLD printing setup is quite basic. I kind of think that all the resin printing is a bit of a hassle comparing to simplicity of filament printing. Therefore, in order to check it out, if I even like it, I bought something that I considered an optimal setting for a beginner like me. Printer is Elegoo Mars 2. I figured Mars 3 was not enough an improvement to justify an extra spending, especially for a beginner like me who is not sure if he's going to stick with the technology. I decided to buy no curing or washing equipment other than plastic box for EPA hand washing and nail UV lamp for curing printed miniatures. I must tell you, so far I'm pretty happy with this setup. I'm not using the cheapest resin though, since a friend who is dealing with printing a lot advised me to do so. He said that with good resin, if something goes wrong, you will know that it is not the resin fault by a faulty setting or printer itself. It seems like a good advice and I'm sticking to it so far. So, I set up the minis in the Legislicer. Was surprised that all of them except one were in the blue, if you get my meaning. Not a huge thing, but nice. I pretty much filled all the space and started the print. It went smoothly, no misprints or failures. I did wrestle with some support a bit, but nothing broke, so I was rather happy so far. I wanted to mix the printed minis with the, I believe, most popular Perry miniatures from the same period. I mean the pikemen, because when it comes to arquebusiers I wanted solely printed minis on a base. I chose 6 minis in total. I had kitted them with some bits from Perry miniature sprues. One even had a Perry's head, as you can see. From the start I wanted to make them on multi-bases to add to my growing collection of similarly based and looking minis from the period. Here are pikemen bodies. One have a metal head from Perry, range of Swiss heads. Fits perfectly, I dare to say it fits better than with actual plastic Perry bodies. Here you can observe how I was planning to place them on a multi-base along with some Perry metal miniatures. They are very similar in size. Warsteel Miniatures seems like being a bit taller but a bit more scrawny at the same time. I mean, hands, feet and some heads are a bit smaller comparing to Perry's. Having said that, from a wargaming perspective, looking down on them on the tabletop, they look perfectly matched and interchangeable when it comes to heads. Simon from Warsteel Miniatures advises broom bristles for pikes. It is not a new concept for me, but I never used it actually. I didn't have any anyway when I started to paint these miniatures, so I used wire spears that I had left. Afterwards I did bought me a broom, and I can say from now on I think I'll stick with this method. Now, before I'll show you the end results, I need to address an issue I had. I mentioned I did wrestle a bit with some supports. As a result, some of the miniatures had a scarring from fused supports. I filed it, and it's not terrible after being painted, but some may say it is a bit extensive. I did an experiment. I removed all supports from a couple of miniatures, and I risked creating a much more sparing ones with Lichy Wizard. I did get warning that some parts of the miniatures were not supported and I am in risk of print failures, but I decided to go ahead and the minis printed just fine. As you can see on the mini on the right, scarring is not there anymore, while the one on the left, has a problem. Now I think that in fact this is not support's fault, I mean fusing and scarring as a result. I think my primitive washing techniques are to blame. What is sufficient for chunky miniatures, it seems like it might not be for much smaller and detailed minis. My theory is that I did not wash the minis thoroughly enough after printing, leaving resin in between supports and also in some palms opening, little holes, when you should be able to put your pikes. In my case, quite a few of them were partially filled and I couldn't put the spears whale through. The 3 additional bodies I have printed I washed using tiny brush and the problem was not existent. So this is just a warning for those of you who might do hand washing just like me. Here are the 6 minis pretty much finished and ready for basing. I chose colors matching some of the Swiss Old Confederacy cantons. For pikemen we have white and blue, and these are from Zurich or Luzern, and red and yellow are for Bern troops. Handgunners on the other hand are from Thurgau. And here finished bases. Most of my setup when it comes to pikes, it's for Italian wars, so a bit later than the minis from War Steel. Still, I'm not a purist, and when it comes to feel, they will look just fine with the rest of the boys, don't you think? So, I honestly think miniatures from War Steel are great. They look superb, complementing minis from known companies with their unusual and dynamic poses. They offer a myriad of possibilities with hundreds of possible combinations. I certainly will in near future compose units just from printed War Steel minis, and I can't wait already for future Simon projects on the subject. With this optimistic note, I bid you farewell until the next time. Cheers!